Hi, good evening, folks, and welcome to the Minority Report. I'm Marilyn David, your host, and this evening we, as per usual, have a very packed program, a very interesting program lined up so that we can get into various types of discussions. I want to say welcome to those of you who are viewing this evening, those of you who are regulars on the program, but I also want to take the opportunity to welcome those of you who are with us for the very first time. And yes, there are some people who are watching us for the very first time. But one thing that has been consistent is the reach of the Minority Report. Many people continue to say, hey, I saw the program for the first time and I intend to make it a habit. So they get their families together and so on every week and view the program. So welcome for those who have been part of the journey with us thus far, making the Minority Report the #1 viewed program on the Tobago Updates Network. And for those of you who are just joining us, who are new to the Minority Report family, welcome, welcome, welcome. This evening, I want to encourage us to take up the phone, send a message to a friend, a relative, co-worker, as the case may be. Tell them that the Minority Report is now on and that they can log on either to the Tobago Updates website, the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, or the Tobago Updates Facebook page. You can even do that on your cell phone and be a part of the program. However, if you are subscribed to the Amplian Network, all you have to do is tune in to channel 102. Yes, that's channel 102 on the Amplian Network, and you can sit in the comfort of your living room and view us live on that particular channel. Pop your corn and so on, and let's have it like a movie, the same disposition that we normally have. This evening, if you want to be a part of the conversation, you want to add your comments and share your views and so on, you can do so via the Facebook page and the live, or you can WhatsApp us on 284-6597. That's 284-6597 or 356-8833. That's 356-8833. We always welcome your comments. We always welcome your statements and so on, your recommendations and so forth. And I mean, it's really good to have the engagement and the interaction. So many of you coming in on the live saying good evening and so on. I want to welcome those of you who are on with us tonight, who are saying that they're locked on. Persons in Tobago, in Trinidad, and even abroad. We're seeing some persons from the diaspora. And it's always a pleasure to see the family grow. This evening with me in studio, none other than my regular co-host, Senator Lawrence Hislop. How are you, sir?
Good evening, Marilyn. Good evening, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm well. It's been about 2 weeks that I've been here. I'm doing well, and it's good to be here to be part of the discussion this evening. I hope a discussion that will be very informative. We like to use the word robust, but that will bring information to the wider public. Yeah.
Nicely, and thank you very much again for making the Minority Report your choice of place to be on a Tuesday night. I know there's been quite a lot taking place this weekend with you. First of all, I want to say congratulations to the Seventh-day Adventists in Tobago. I know you could probably give the actual technical terms, but I want to say congratulations on becoming a conference, is it?
Yes, after 20 years of the church in Tobago being under the umbrella of a mission, yesterday we officially became a conference, which means that it has given us, as a church body, additional responsibility, additional work to do. The leadership now is, all the leadership is now elected by the the membership that's there, the delegates that are selected from the various churches to go to the session. In the past, the administrators will be selected. And when we say the administrators, we're talking about the president, the treasurer, and the executive secretary are usually were selected from a Caribbean Union perspective. But when we became, as we're now a conference, all officers are now, including the administrators, are now elected by the membership in Tobago. Well, the delegates.
So it's greater democracy.
So there's greater democracy. It also speaks to greater financial responsibility. We are now, granted that we still under the various levels of the church, the conference, the union, the division, the general conference. It gives the church in Tobago greater responsibility, greater independence. I know, well, I shouldn't say independence. I know this is a word that is being bandied about, but greater autonomy over its affairs on the island. And so it was long in coming long anticipated by the membership of the church. And I think it's any upward movement for any organization, anybody is always greatly appreciated and well received. So as a Seventh-day Adventist, I am proud to say that we are now at a stage where there's a lot more responsibility given to the organization in Tobago. Yep.
So we do expect a lot more, because with greater responsibility, greater expectation.
Well, yes, that is what is expected. To whom much is given, as the word says as well. Mm-hmm. To whom much is given, much is expected, or much is required. Yeah. So we look forward to the greater responsibility. It even gives the membership the ability now to hold their leaders to more account. Mm-hmm. Because in the past, where we really didn't have a say in who became the president, the treasurer, and the executive secretary, it means now that the membership determines who manages the church from the top right down. Yeah.
Very well. Moving along again, congratulations going out to the national team.
Yes.
And by extension, all of Trinidad and Tobago. We saw what many may deem to be an insurmountable feat, where Trinidad and Tobago defeated the United States 2-1 last night, mm-hmm. In that qualifying match. I don't know about you and a lot of other people. I tend to get nostalgic whenever Trinidad and Tobago faces the United States, because I remember that fateful game played in the National Stadium in the days of Russell Latapy and not Kenwin Jones, these guys, Brian Williams, the Strike Squad.
Yeah.
Strike Squad.
Yeah.
And
Angus Evans on.
When all of the country was at a standstill and we lost because of the sunlight.
Well, since then it seems like the United States has had our number.
Yes.
Since 1989. But yeah, even though we are at a point in the qualification where we still have to now go through a playoff process, mm-hmm. I believe that congratulations can definitely be shared with the national team. Yeah. To beat the US is always a feather in our cap. We always feel good when we beat
if
the US.
If we lose to everybody else,
once we beat the US, we feel good because of what happened that fateful day in November. But we look forward to the team growing. When you look at football and you look at the sport, you recognize that the team has its challenges, but I think the team is still doing I think Angus Eve is doing a good job as a coach, trying to get this young team to play beautiful football. They played really attacking football. They played a lot of attacking football last night, and I think it paid off. It paid off in them winning the match. In them winning the match 2-1.
I just want to say congratulations. Yeah. Every time we beat the US, it doesn't matter to me who else we would have lost to, but every time we beat the US, to me, it's a major feat. I remember that day being in school, very young, but in school and all draped in red.
Yeah.
Draped in red and the entire country, all the students, it was the only day that you could have come to school in your uniform and something over it.
Yeah.
You know, that was the impact it had. And so guys, we really want to congratulate the team, and we hope that they continue to move forward and forge forward with this type of positive nature and this positive attitude. So we moving into some discussions. We're back in Tobago, and what we want to do first off this evening is that we want to get into a press conference that would have been held today coming out of a meeting between the Tobago Business Chamber, where they would have invited the Minister of Trade, Industry and Commerce, the Honorable Paula Gopi-Scoon, to have some open discussions with the Chamber involving the development of the private sector and so on, and what is the ministry willing to do for the private sector or to assist in the developing of the private sector. The Chief Secretary also was invited to that particular meeting by the Business Chamber, and a very interesting press conference followed that meeting. And because of the nature of the conversation and some of what was brought out, we want to be able to replay that particular press conference so that all of Tobago can have the benefit of what would have been said, what was discussed, and even hear the explanations to some of the questions posed by the media, primarily to Minister Gopi-Scoon. So we're going to take a look at that in our first segment. When we get back from it, we're going to have a bit of discussions about it as well in relation to what it means to Tobago and what it means to the private sector and businesses on a whole, whether small, medium, or large, in Tobago. And we're going to take it from there going forward. Quite a lot came out, and I'm really eager for us to get into the discussions after. I'll ask the director to cue it up. Mr. Director, I want us to go right into that press conference now. Okay, where I go?
Thank you. Before we go to the questions, thank you, everyone. I want to say a huge thank you to the Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce for inviting the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Exim Bank here today. I'm pleased that the Chief Sec was able to join us as well. We had a very spirited conversation with members of the Chamber and a wide cross-section of businesses, some of them THA related and other micro and small and medium-sized enterprises that exist in Tobago. We were able to bring to them a number of incentives that are available. I made the point to them earlier that Prime Minister, 3 years ago, Prime Minister Rowley said to me that we should in fact be presenting all of the incentives that are available to businesses. And I said to him, I didn't think it was necessary because I think that we were advertising, each of us, the different ministries, different agencies, and so on. Well, I have to go back to him at this time to say to him that after the myriad of incentives that have been added in the post-COVID environment, particularly in the last budget by the Honorable Minister of Finance, we can't say that we have closed the entrepreneurial ecosystem in terms of the initiatives and the incentives that are on offer for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Those of you who are thinking of getting into business and have a fantastic idea and wish to take this from idea stage to full conceptualization and commercialization. But those of you who are in business already and are thinking about exporting and getting your goods into the regional market, CARICOM is our second largest market, or into the US, which is our first, into other markets where there are members of the Trinidad and Tobago diaspora, in the UK, in Canada, in Miami, in New York, and so on. And the thing about it is Tobago has been producing, mind you, many of them are small, but they've been producing a number of entrepreneurs who have come up with some very unique products that can be distinguished and therefore would find themselves in even the European market. And therefore, we feel that there are a number of ways in which we can help through the Exim Bank in terms of the supply of foreign exchange, and also through Export TT with their suite of initiatives, also through Invest TT, and through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, also through our mechanism, which is the Trade and Information Business Portal, which really would give you anyone interested in expanding or understanding or exploring any aspect of business. You can get onto that business portal, Trade and Business Information Portal, and find out virtually anything that you want to know about businesses in Trinidad and Tobago and what's on offer and what are the markets like and your trade complementarity for that particular type of product and so on. So all of those aspects were discussed today. So very, 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 very pleased to have supported this meeting here this afternoon, put on by the Tobago Chamber of Commerce.
Minister and Chief Secretary.
Hold a second.
Sure. Hey, good afternoon to everyone. Minister, Chief Secretary, we just want to say thanks for accepting our invitation to be here. Members of the media, it was a very, very great informal session, and a lot was discussed. And we know this is just the beginning, and we're definitely going to expand the relationship going forward with the Ministry of Trade and the THA. We just want to thanks again to all the members who presented, the Exim Bank, Export TT, and the technical staff that was there to support. We just say thanks to them as well. And I know the members of the public, we have a lot of questions, I know. So I know the minister is quite busy, but we want to shoot some questions to the minister and the chief sec so that you guys can get in your questions.
Well, one of the things, good morning, good afternoon. Well, one of the things that was a concern for the business community is the access to foreign exchange. What were some of these solutions that were presented today, and was there a system set up in place so that businesses can access a bit more foreign exchange?
So thank you for that. Thank you for that question. And as you know, the Exim Bank has been doing this foreign exchange facility since in the post-COVID environment in particular, it really expanded. One, and this is to assist manufacturers, which is to give foreign exchange for raw material inputs into manufacturing. Then also for imported goods that are basic to our needs, particularly in the post-COVID environment. That's when that started up. So we do have a list of basic foods that for which foreign exchange is provided. Exim Bank, that apart, provides a number of other facilities, including trade financing and so on. But I think the one that most people were excited to hear about again was that which was mentioned and introduced at the last budget, 2024 budget, by the Honourable Minister of Finance, which is a facility for the small SMEs. And that I don't want to give you too much details about that, but Navin Dukaran, the CEO of Exim Bank, was here today and gave us the assurance that it is being worked on. And I know that because I've been part of the conversation with Mr. Dukaran. And that is going to provide SMEs, not only those involved with in manufacturing, but across a lot of other sectors. So that I believe that even though you're in retail, the system will allow you to have access to foreign exchange. So I think that was a bright bulb today within the room, and we're looking forward to that.
What partnerships or what solutions, what things are you guys going to be working on immediately in terms of, helping the private sector develop here in Tobago?
Well, let me say that we've always worked with the THA, past and present, and that there are partnerships in place from the point of view, apart from the fact that the Chief Sec and I have met in Port of Spain on occasions and spoken before and attached ourselves to several concerns and so on. But for instance, Export TT has an office within the THA, set up within the Community Development Division. So that's Export TT, Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards. There are talks going on now with the THA. The Bureau of Standards wishes to set up an office here in Tobago and within the THA as well. So that's something that we are looking at. There are a number of other partnerships in terms of consumer affairs as well. There's an MOU which exists between the Consumer Affairs Division of the Ministry and also within the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the division in the Division of Finance, here as well. And there are many other areas. There are a number of boards where there are representatives of the THA on the boards, and these are all business-related boards. For instance, the new Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Investment Agency, which will be launched in the first half of 2024, there is going to be a THA representative on it. The Special Economic Zones Authority, there is already a THA representative on it. The Bureau of Standards, there is a member of the THA on the board of the Bureau of Standards. So that just tells you that there is an existing partnership, but again, we must utilize it more for the greater good of the people of Tobago, as well as those from Trinidad.
Anything in terms of the business community? More in terms of changes that you would like to see for more in terms of export?
But I can tell you that we've been working, and today we were able to list. We also had a member from the Export TT give a presentation, and we were able to tell you the number of small businesses, micro businesses that we are assisting, and they are in several sectors. And we were able to name more than 30, close to 40 businesses that have been benefiting from capacity building, access to finance, export development plans, etc. So much of that is going on. I'm not seeing enough of Tobago businesses benefiting from some of our plans some of our financial products. For instance, there are three of them. One of them, the Smart Foods has been able to develop from our International Certificate Fund program. Very pleased for that, because I see that product growing and being exported to external markets. But also, we also gave to sandals and leathercraft, the cobbler.
Cobbler.
The cobbler. Oh, no, it's another. No, the name is different. The master cobbler. Master cobbler. And she was also able to receive grant funding to us to buy machinery to expand her business, which is the making of sandals, leather sandals, and belts, and so on. And definitely an export product. And then, of course, maybe 3 years ago, there was another manufacturing enterprise, JMAC, who also benefited from our grant fund facility, and they are now in about 7 Caribbean markets. And so that's what we want to see. We want more businesses to grow, to take advantage of the facilities that are available for capacity building, for access to export, for training and development. And I reminded the group here today that we've gone back to the days. It was now it has been introduced once again in the through the budget exercise again, the Junior Achievement Program, introducing the whole concept of entrepreneurial business and entrepreneurial activity and so on in the minds of students at the primary and secondary schools, and that's where it must start. I spoke about the fact that we must aim to have at least one person in every family being an entrepreneur. I keep saying it and I'm going to continue saying it, because what you really want people to do is to share in the prosperity of Trinidad and Tobago. And the only way you can do that, yes, by educating yourselves and becoming professionals, but business, you can also prosper through business. And we want to know that everyone is able to have a share in that.
Mr. Chief Secretary, in terms of today and talks from the business community, because you have heard, are you seeing anything where, because I know you always spoke about prisons branching off from just being THA only, but are you seeing a widening and a diversification of the business sector in Tobago that you can say we are seeing some sort of progress in terms of diversifying from tourism?
Yes, there is a widening of the sector on the island. More than that, we are seeing quite a bit of young entrepreneurs on the island who are benefiting from programs both at the THA level and at the Ministry of Trade level in order to advance their business. And today I had to remind the business community that they have a responsibility in all of this. The government, whether it's the central government or the THA, our job is to provide the facilities, but the business sector must take command of those opportunities. They have to do the applications, they have to ensure that they are formally registered on all of those things, and ensure that their business meets the requirement. That onus is on the business itself. The THA nor the central government can do that for the business. And so it's that partnership that we are trying to create between the state and the business community. But yes, to answer you in short, we are seeing quite a bit of innovation in this space. The minister and her team listed out quite a bit of young professionals here who have their products on supermarket shelves and nationally now, who are upscaling and doing pretty well with very innovative products. And that's a good place for Tobago. It also means that for the first time in a long while, we are seeing an uptick in businesses outside of the distribution sector. Because for a very, very long time in Tobago, we saw businesses buying a product somewhere and retailing it here. And what we're trying to do is to push the community, the business community. Not that anything is wrong with retailing. That's fine and honorable, and you can earn quick profits from that. But we're looking for the kinds of innovations that can be exported, because that is what will generate the levels of forex that we need, for example, and that will generate further economic benefits to the island and the country as a whole.
What challenges were solved, you would say, from the business community? Like, what challenges were solved from this meeting?
Well, for starters, the business community on Thursday this week is launching their business center. And that's a huge solution, because we have been seeing whereby we have businesses not accessing the grants, the facilities.
So, folks, we are back in studio, and very, very interesting bits of information coming out there. One of the things that we always pride ourselves in on the Minority Report is also being able to provide you, the public, with general information and education with respect to varying sectors and their development as well in Tobago. And I mean, I think this press conference, Senator Hislop, was very, very critical. It shed light on a number of issues, a number of questions. One of the first ones jumping out to me is the level of collaboration that we see coming out here based on what this minister has said with respect to central government's involvement and willingness to be involved in Tobago's development. I mean, we see this here with respect to the business sector, but we would have had a couple of weeks ago, Minister in the Ministry of Agriculture, Senator Avinash Singh as well, speaking from the standpoint of agriculture, and again extending a plethora of services and initiatives and incentives that Tobago farmers can also access. What were your major takeaways from this press conference?
No, but that's what we keep saying. It goes back to the point that we've been making since this administration came into office in the Tobago House of Assembly, that the enemy is not the central government, that the central government has over and over again extended the hand, extended itself, extended services to Tobago as it has always done in the past. And so this meeting with Minister Paula Gopi-Skun, the Chief Secretary and the Business Chamber, speaks directly to that again, that the government, the central government of Trinidad and Tobago recognizes that if the economy of Tobago does well, that it benefits Trinidad and Tobago. It doesn't benefit, and I don't even like to say this, but it doesn't benefit Trinidad if Tobago does bad. It doesn't. So then why would we think that there needs to be this war between the two islands and between the administrations? And so you saw the minister speak to the level of support that it is willing to give and has given to small and micro enterprises in Tobago, Tobagonian businesses, and not just, and even the Chief Secretary mentioned it, it's not just businesses of a retail sense,
distribution,
but businesses that are about innovation and creating products, and not just creating products for the domestic market, but can also create products for export. And this is where you have Export TT being involved and the Exim Bank making available foreign exchange and so on to exporters. And so once we recognize, and this is what we want, this is what we want to see. We want to see collaboration, and we want to see the administration settle down, do the work for the benefit of Tobagonians and by extension, the national community. Because when you have these sorts of dialogues, and you have these constructive conversations that allow for services, and that's why we always make the point as well, that Tobagonians have two bites at the cherry. Because you have the Tobago House of Assembly that offers services that are unique to the Tobagonian and that benefit the Tobagonian only directly. But then you also can access services from the national treasury that benefits you, benefits your family, benefits the community, and benefits the country. And so that's what we want to continue to see. We want to continue to see collaboration. That's why we keep calling for the fighting to stop.
To cease. Yeah.
And for us just to get the work done that will benefit Tobago and benefit the country by extension.
One of the other things that really stood out to me in terms of this particular forum, the way that the meeting took place is literally like if you cut out the middleman. So the minister came directly to the businessmen.
Yes.
The meeting was attended by everyone who wanted to be in the meeting, who were in some type of business. It could be sole trader partnership, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's agro-processing. You were given access to the meeting, and you had the opportunity to speak directly, to air your concerns, to make your recommendations. And so it was good to hear the minister speak directly to the issues that are generic to Tobago, that are generic to the development of the private sector in Tobago. What was instructive is when she spelled out the as she called it, the suite of incentives. And the fact that she actually indicated that 3 years ago, Prime Minister would have said to her to promote more and that kind of thing, especially for Tobago. And here it is that they were thinking that so much was out there. But now clearly with this conversation, I think that local businesses would have great access. Especially in the conversation about Forex. I know that for the last couple months that has been a challenge as well. And it was great to hear the minister speak to it. Even in terms of the agencies that are housed here, that
Export TT and
critical to our local businessmen now latching on to this and making full use of it, taking the opportunities.
No, but I think it's timely, but we also have to remember that Tobagonians by nature as well are industrious people, and we know about the corner shops and the and haberdasheries and so on that have found themselves. I remember my grandmother was a both my grandmothers actually were businesswomen, because both of them had these general stores kind of operations right in their homes. My paternal grandmother used to head down to Trinidad with my older brothers, and she'll go through Port of Spain and buy your thread and your laces and pencils and erasers and so on. And so right in that little community, parents who were able to get items for their children. My maternal grandmother had a boutique and was into agriculture and so on. And so there is this innate thing in the Tobagonian that thrives for business. And so once the environment is created, I believe that we will have a thriving private sector on this island. And the foundation was laid when direct policy decisions were made by Mr. Anselm London and so on, creation of the BDU and what's the other one? I can't bring it to memory right now, but these sort of entities that caused a blossoming of your mini-marts and your private and your small businesses on the island, hardwares and so on, was because of direct policy decisions. So this now, because you've had a foundation of first and foremost the desire in the Tobagonian to get into business, and then previous administrations creating an avenue for your small businesses to take root. And then you now could create a scenario where you have small and micro enterprises getting into exporting of products and innovation of products. So I could only see things getting bigger in Tobago. I know we have the challenge, whether we like it or not. We have the challenge of a small population. And a small population doesn't really lend to a thriving private sector. But I believe once we are able to look at things from a holistic standpoint in your increase of visitor arrivals, once you could get that, then that would also speak.
Not just seasonal.
That's right, not just seasonal, but you have a continuous influx of visitors to the island. It then increases your population. Not permanently, but you have your what do you call it in transient or whatever, population that come in, so that you have 60,000 to deal with. And if you could increase your numbers, you might get to the point where you have 70 and 80,000 people being able to sustain a private sector on the island. And then on top of that, you have your small and micro enterprise manufacturers who are now seeking export markets, whether it is in your leather craft like the Master Cobbler and your juices and your local sweets and so on, that you can then look at however amount of foreign exchange it is coming back into the Tobago economy. And so the conversation with the minister was indeed timely. The meeting with the minister and the chamber and even the chief secretary, timely as well, so that we could then start to move from the foundation that was laid. And this is what we keep saying over and over again, that you met an island with a foundation, and all that you needed to do was to build on that foundation. Not mash it up, but build on it, expand on it, and so that the island continues to grow from administration to administration.
And as you rightfully said, the minority leader and the minority councillor by extension have always echoed that sentiment. Just saying good evening to them as well in the height of preparation for Thursday's sitting, where we expect to see the reprioritization motion brought by the Chief Secretary. So they are about the people's business as well. Good evening, Assemblyman Morris and Minority Councillor Petel Daniel Benoit joining us. I think they were logged on. I saw them logged on as well. Hard at work. But yes, as you're saying, Senator, that is the type of conversation. Something as well that she mentioned, that she said they are reintroducing the Junior Achievement Program. I think that is a program that has done quite a lot for the private sector development in Trinidad, especially because the program ideally exposes school-age children, forms 4 and 5, I think, to actual business development. You get into the program, you're set up in teams, you're given the task of coming up with a business concept and idea, and then working out all the logistics, what you're going to need. And you then build this towards actually producing a product. And this product is now sold on the open market. And what that did for small business development was phenomenal. And I can say that because I remember participating in the Junior Achievement Program when I was in Form 4.
Right.
And if my memory serves me right, the product that we developed was a cleaning gel, like an all-purpose cleaner. And we did all the bottling, we did the mixing and everything, did the research, and we made a lot of money from selling 1-gallon bottles of this cleaning chemical.
Right.
So much money that the group of us, when we started raking the sales, we started sharing with other groups whose products were not as successful. Right. And we brought them in, and when someone's product was failing, we added them to the team, and we increased our production, and we increased the areas that we marketed it to. And it was, I mean, you would see school children wearing our school uniforms going through Port of Spain, going through Chaguanas, and you have your chaperone with you, and you have the products, and you're selling, and businesses were buying, and a lot of young people who participated in that particular program eventually went on into different businesses and so on, and creating their own models. So when I heard her mention that, I think that as well is something that is significant in terms of having that conversation from school, because developing the private sector is not something that just overnight you just look. It's something that is ongoing. It's a conversation, as you indicated, even from Anselm London, when he would have made policy decisions, certain things that were implemented, it was to have that particular effect.
No, but see, it also speaks to, Marlon, it also speaks to the point that the minister made about creating an environment for us to at least have one member of a family who's an entrepreneur. Yes, the schooling, the tertiary education and so on is important, and seeking for better employment, great. But to create, one of the ways to really and truly create generational wealth is business.
Correct.
So these kinds of activities, and policies and programs speak to that. And in Tobago, we ought to be able to celebrate, and I go back to the point I made about us having in our DNA and our psyche that desire to be business people. And we ought to celebrate successful business people on our island. And the ability, knowing that we have that ability is not exclusive to us or exclusive to anybody else. There are people in Tobago who have been successful at business, and it says that there is room and there's possibility for that kind of thing.
Very, very well said. At this time, I want to take the opportunity to thank officially and formally the minister for accepting that invitation and for being present at that meeting forum this evening, and going further to conduct the press conference and answer those questions. The information that was shared was indeed invaluable, and I think that it can only improve the product that we have here on the island. So on behalf of the Minority Leader, Minority Council, and the team here at Minority Report, Senator Lawrence, and so on, we want to thank Minister Gopi Skoon for really bringing some value to the conversation, and we look forward to continued collaboration, as we have been saying all the time, continued collaboration for the benefit of Tobago. We're going to take a short break, folks, and when we get back, we shift the discussion a bit and have some talks about tourism and some things that we've been seeing happening and unfolding. So share the live, stay locked on, and we'll be right back.
Hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat. Oh, this is so stylish, and I love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material.
Oh, Standard?
No, it's Standard, their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive collection, now exclusively available at Standard.
rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
This Christmas, speed is on us. Get up to 300 megabits per second of speed with our new Link Up Plus plan. Enjoy more speed, more channels, and free streaming for less. Plus, introducing Link Up More with up to 1 gig download speed. Download, stream, video call, share memes, and more. Get free installation when you sign up in-store online today at discoverflow.co.
The Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development has relocated its Crown Point office to Glen Road in Scarborough to better serve you, our clients. Our main office is located at the corner of Glen Road and Glen Road Branch number 1, the building formerly occupied by COSTAT. Our grant and electrical inspectorate services can be accessed at number 2 Montessori Drive in Glen Road, building 1 and 2.
So folks, welcome back to the Minority Report. I'm Arlan David, your host, and with me in studio is Senator Lawrence Hislop. Senator Hislop, we would have touched on an issue last week when the Minority Leader was in studio with us with respect to what we saw, an incident we saw over the weekend involving one of the cruise ships that would have docked. What happened was that a number of the passengers, over 300 if my figures are correct, who would have paid for tours would have docked, the ship would have docked in Tobago, and the tour operators were unavailable. We saw a press conference where a number of issues or a number of excuses were laid with respect to why: religious reasons, vehicular problems, but the most prominent one seemed to be an issue with payment from the operator. Subsequent to that, and fast forward a week later, we saw an interview take place where some discussions were held and some issues were raised. Some of the things that were raised I find quite alarming, and I felt that this happened on a watch. Somebody is responsible, noting the fact that there are private entities that deal with certain things within this whole area of operation. However, at the end of the day, things are reflected on Tobago as a whole. Nobody identifies the guy down the line, down the chain. So I want us to look at a couple clips of that interview this morning with Mr. Orville Dillon. Some of the things that he brought out, that he highlighted, as we tend to try to align this discussion. So, Mr. Director, could you run those clips for me, please?
And in this case, the operator is the person that would normally treat with coordinating, let's say, for example, the maxi associations or transportation in terms of the tours and so on. I just want to make sure that we have it clear for the benefit of our viewers and listeners.
They will get their numbers, the tours that they sell,
right?
Because we don't know what tours they sell. They will sell different tours to the cruise lines.
Right.
And when they sell the tours, now then they come to us to say, well, okay, I sell a waterfall tour, I need how many buses? I sell a city tour, which is around Scarborough, they need how many buses? That's how it works.
All right. So again now, just making sure. So when that part happens, the connection is made, is it with TTAL and the THA, or the connection is made directly with these maxi taxi associations?
Directly with the associations that operates on the port.
All right. And how many do we have in the operating in the Tobago space?
We have two operating in the Tobago space. One is Transmax, and the other is Tobago Port Maxi and Taxi Federation.
Right. So prior to this situation that we had happen, unfortunately with the lack of transportation, were there the necessary stakeholder engagements and so on beforehand, planning, coordinating to make sure that all is well and all is in place? How does that occur?
Yes, they do that. The 2 days before the ship arrived, we had a stakeholders meeting to show your readiness, how much ready you are, right? One association said they are 90% ready. The other say they are 50% ready, but they can get up to at least 75% ready if we have another inspection, because the port normally inspect the vehicles that comes onto the port. So right after that meeting was on the 9th. On the 10th, they got the inspection. They inspect buses on the 10th. And on the 11th, you couldn't show.
In your estimation, as someone being in this industry for some time now, how would you view that kind of challenging situation?
That situation was poor on the other hand of the other association, because it's not the first time that a ship come on Saturday. Earlier this year, before the close of the season in April, the 2nd of January, the 14th of January, there were ships on Saturday, and there were more people off the ships on the 2nd and the 4th, and on the 2nd and the 14th, sorry, than what came off on the 11th of November.
Very interesting.
So, Senator Hislop, I don't know what to say about this. This is, and there's more to come, but we're just breaking it here because we want to be able to understand what Mr. Dillon said here thus far. He identified the fact that there are two entities who operate, and I know you have some intimate knowledge about this procedure, this process, having some experience with it. So there are two entities. What I took away, the biggest takeaway for me, there was the fact that the question was asked, were stakeholders engaged? And he made it quite clear. Everyone was brought to the table, discussions were held, and so forth, and persons outlined what they needed to be ready or to get ready. So that was done. What happened next? What do you think?
Well, the truth is, Marilyn, I am very disappointed with what transpired. That's 2 Saturdays ago. I think it doesn't put the island in the correct light. As Mr. Dillon rightly said, it's not the first time that a ship is coming on a Saturday, especially a ship of that magnitude. We've had ships larger than the one that came 2 Saturdays ago come on a Saturday. And we've never had a situation like this. When you say I have an intimate knowledge, from the management standpoint of the associations, I don't. I actually worked for both associations once upon a time. I had my own taxi service and was part of the line on the cruise ship and so on. And so you were there to transport the guests who came to the island. And so you never want a situation where your guests are disappointed in service.
Yeah.
You always want to put your best foot forward. And even in your own home, whenever people come to visit, you always put forward the best.
Make sure it's clean.
And so for us to have a situation as embarrassing as we did last two Saturdays, it's very disappointing. And those who are responsible for us being in that position 2 Saturdays ago need to clean that up, because if I'm not sure, but I believe that ship may be coming back Saturday coming. I don't know if that's if the schedule holds, but usually you'll have that kind of 2-week gap between the time you come and your return.
Yeah, you turn around.
Right? So I'm not sure if it's but the thing about it, based on the schedule I saw at the start of the season, there are larger ships to come. And so I'm really hoping that whatever solutions that have come out of the discussion that transpired after the incident. I heard the president of the other association saying that there was a commitment by the chief secretary to make available the buses from the other divisions in the event that there is a shortfall. Not sure how that will work. I wait to see how that will work, because you have a situation where there'll be overtime for drivers and so on. So I'm just assuming, because if it's on a Sunday or on a Saturday, these buses have to come out. But then you also have the situation that when you have larger buses coming in the week, larger ships coming in the week, when these buses who are contracted to the Division of Education, then you may run into another situation where you may not have enough buses as
Double
well.
scheduling and that kind of thing.
So whilst other persons are doing the required work to get additional ships to the island, there's also work to be done here. There's also conversations to be had, I believe, with the Ministry of Works, the Transport Commissioner, to make more maxi rides available, and not necessarily maxi rides, but create. I think there needs
tour buses.
Yeah, there needs to be a conversation about making tour buses more available for Tobago, concession for tour buses, an incentive for persons who have a desire to get into this field. How do we make it easier and more affordable for the man who has, let's say, a 7-seater who decides, I want to upgrade. We have more ships coming. I want to upgrade. How then do I create an incentive for him, whether it's a loan guarantee or whatever, create an incentive for this man who has a 7-seater to go out and to acquire a larger bus. And then not only acquire a larger bus, but then the wider conversation has to be had with the Transport Commissioner in terms of your omnibus license, right? And making that available for Tobagonians, because we have the challenge of it not being, you're unable to get that in Tobago, right? So that wider conversation needs to be had on top of the additional maxi rides. There really needs to be a conversation about tour buses. And the tour buses now bringing the conversation of having an omnibus license. Which is so you're talking about Ministry of Works, talking about Ministry of Tourism, you're talking about the Division of Tourism and Transport, Antiquities and so on. So that, and this is what we keep talking about.
Goes right back.
Collaboration. How do we make it more attractive for a younger person who has the desire to get into the tourism industry? How do you make it more attractive for him to say, okay, or him or her, sorry, for them to say, I want to acquire a bus, a bigger bus. So then that adds to the number of seats you have on ground when passengers come off.
Exactly.
And so we can't just talk about bringing additional ships, because bringing additional ships and bringing larger ships to the island is one thing, and it's needed, and as Mr. Dillon spoke to the fact that, I think it's maybe in another video, and in part of the interview, he spoke to the fact that they go out to these conferences and have these conversations and training and so on, to bring these ships to the island. The agent works on getting larger ships to come, because larger ships mean more money for the man on the ground, more money for the port, and that sort of thing. So it has to be a wider conversation. But I'm really hoping that whatever stopgap measure has been put in place for the rest of the season, that we don't run into this problem again. Yeah.
Well, let's hear another part of the interview.
Sure.
This morning. I'll ask the director to bring that up.
Very interesting. So what it appears to be coming down to is that is it that the information was not put out there beforehand? Because you're hearing a perspective coming from the association in terms of the religious commitments. Of course, you've just spoken to that, because we know in the history of cruise ships, it's not the first time that is happening on a Saturday. So you'd have had to plan and kind of prepare in that direction. How do you relate to one of the concerns that's raised about normally or trying to augment the supply? What normally happens to ensure that there is sufficient capacity on the part of these associations to meet the obligations?
Well, the ratio there is 50-50. So, like about 2 days before, the tour operator will give you his thoughts. Say, okay, I need 20 buses, 30 buses. So you know you have to provide your 10 if it's 20, and they have to provide their 10. All right. So you will carry extra. You will carry extra. Extra will be there because it have the one that called the free line, where anybody walk off and you could get business.
Right.
Right. So you will carry more. So everybody knows what they have to do, because they will send you prior to the ship coming. The only time you get an extra is like on the day, if more people turns up, then you have to get extra buses, and that's why you are carrying the extra.
So what then at this stage, because we know what has happened, we have heard the reasoning and the rationale being put out there, what are the implications, for Tobago in particular, or rather those possible implications? And this is only hoping that, we're able to rectify it before.
Yesterday I got what you call the schedule from the port, and they sent one to me showing me some cancellation, and about an hour after they sent another showing me more cancellation. So this out there, it damages our reputation. It damages Tobago. After you go to all these conferences, pay so much money to go to these conferences. One of the things I know, I went to a conference in Miami in April. One of the things that they said to us, please don't let a ship come to your port and you don't have the adequate transportation, because it's not only the people who will go on the ship they cater for. They cater for tours on the ship. People buy their tours maybe a year before because they want to go on this cruise, and they plan their business, they plan their spending. So, when they get on the ship, they don't have to worry about paying for a tour. It already paid for in the package in every island they go, So they might visit the beach in St. Lucia. So they might come now, they visit the waterfall in Tobago. They wouldn't want to visit the beach in St. Lucia and visit the beach in Tobago. They do different things in different port of call. So we are fortunate to get so many people coming off. In 2019, before COVID, we only have 23 calls. After COVID, we had 42 calls. This season, we have 77 calls. So you see, it keeps climbing. So that means we are doing something good, because all the time it was down there. And as I said to you, The tour operator went in COVID. He was hard hit.
Yes.
And he asked us to hold on for payment. He will pay us. I said, okay, no problem. But the other association did not like that because maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't pay their drivers or what the case might be. I don't know. But
that's the one that we were seeing in focus on the
all
TV.
the time.
Okay.
Right. So remember, this guy, the tour operator, he have to pay a platinum membership to the FCCA in order to be in business. COVID hit everybody. And that platinum membership, it costs you like $25,000 US. I'm not exaggerating, that's the cost of it.
Yes.
And he has to meet that demand in order to get these ships to come. Also, you have to meet the demand of the insurance. The insurance is about $20,000. And we, the taxi operators, or we, the association, have to show a public liability insurance too. Because he must show who he's working with and if they have the adequate insurance to transport these people. Because they don't make joke. They spend a lot of money with COVID moving people. They pay out a lot of insurance because, you know, the ships were at one part of the sea and they couldn't get home, so they have to pay.
What are the implications, for Tobago in particular, or rather those possible implications? And this is only hoping that, we're able to rectify it before.
Yesterday I got what you call the schedule from the port, and they sent one to me showing me some cancellation, and about an hour after they sent another showing me more cancellation. So this out there, it damages our reputation. It damages Tobago.
So we heard the other part of that conversation, and Senator Islop, to respond to your concern, and even my concern and all of Tobago. What we heard here, the word that stood out most to me was cancellations. Mr. Dillon indicating that he would have gotten the schedule from the port, and he is now seeing a number of cancellations and even getting a second indicator an hour after showing additional cancellations. And he said something that I believe is very, very important, that this thing is serious.
Mm-hmm.
This thing has the potential to cripple your tourism industry, your tourism sector. But we've not been hearing anything about this. We've not heard the secretary speak to it. We've not heard the chief secretary speak to it. And we're hearing here first-hand information that there are now officially cancellations.
So
where are we going from here?
So the thing about it is that travel, I'll use one word when it comes to travel, especially leisure travel. Confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, any industry, really.
Any industry.
Confidence. If what Mr. Dillon if what he's saying is true, and I can't see him not bringing truthful information for it, because he's a long-standing stakeholder in this thing, and this affects him directly.
Yeah.
Not only him and his association and his members, but also the other association and members. And so, based on the information that he gave this morning in that interview, it means that the ripple has started. especially if the cancellations are as a result of what transpired 2 Saturdays ago. I think what we'd have to wait and see is whether this particular vessel comes back. Yeah, because that was significant because it happened to them and their passengers. And if visitors do not have confidence in your product, they're not going to come.
Yeah.
Because tourism is such a competitive industry that one slip up by a resort, by an airline, means that we move our business from a tour service, a cruise line. One slip up means that you could lose business. And these are the kinds of things that we talk about. And you rightly said that one thing is significant in Tobago right now is the silence on this. We've heard one statement from the Chief Secretary. At a town hall meeting. We've heard another statement from Mr. Williams of the other association. We now hear Mr. Dillon. But we yet to hear from the Secretary of Tourism. The Secretary of Tourism has not said more than a press release. I don't know if
apology.
Right. I don't know if I missed it, but that's the only thing that has been issued by the Secretary thus far, an apology of what transpired. We've not heard. Granted, we knew she was out of the country, but I believe there ought to be an acting Secretary of Tourism.
Well, we have the Assistant Secretary.
Right. So we haven't heard anything about the way forward from any of the stakeholders. So is it that we just hoping that when the larger ships return, that the situation has been resolved?
And
that can't be it. That cannot be it. That there has to be confidence in the product. That if I come back to Tobago, that there is going to be enough transportation, people are going to be safe, and all of that, all of these things that go with that. Because when you heard Mr. Cavallo speak to the quantum in terms of the money that was lost by just that one incident, and that's a loss for him, that's a loss for the cruise line, that and so on, and by even the same taxi drivers.
Senator, one of the things that this is such a critical issue because I heard it spelled out in a way because persons don't understand. There are some people who save for years towards their retirement, and these are some of the things that they, as they say, on their bucket list. So they go on a cruise, and these tours are paid for in advance. The effect that has, just in terms of disappointment, a passenger going back on the vessel and saying to their relatives back home in Europe, now listen, we had a terrible experience. Now, with all this taking place, it is, heart-rending that the voice of the Secretary is absent. And this is something, the minority leader would have held a press conference last Thursday and would have spoken to some of these issues as well. One of the things that he would have brought out was a letter that was written by the association to the Secretary 1 year ago, outlining to her the challenges that the associations face with respect to transportation, and indicating that is something that should be treated with as a matter of urgency.
Right.
Otherwise, we can end up falling into some disrepute, some problems. And as we see manifested 2 Saturdays ago, the real life situation actually unfolding. Now, even though that letter was presented, Minority Leader would have brought it forth, you would have thought that it would propel one to be able to step up and step into a position of accountability to say now that, listen, this is what transpired, these are the meetings that would have been had. But we've not gotten that. And even with the lack of accountability, even with stakeholders calling for some sort of voice, some sort of conversation, to date, today's Tuesday, we still have not had any word, any meeting, any gathering of something so critical. And here it is, we're hearing from Mr. Dillon that we have cancellations. Yeah. And as you rightfully said, there is no reason for us to doubt the credibility of his information. When he was introduced in the capacity, I think, as Director of Transportation or something like that.
Well, he's the head of Transmax, which is which is the other association that operates on the port.
He has intimate knowledge of the system. Yeah. I think he would have even said that he was in this for, is it 37 years or something like that?
Listen, Marlon, as far as I could remember, Mr. Dilono, or he's commonly called Shuggy, has been in this industry as far back as I can remember. Mm. And so he is not speaking fly by night or just flippant on a subject. This is a man who has built himself on this industry, on this tourism, on this transportation industry. Transportation is who Shuggy is. Mm-hmm. I remember the days of him and Pussycat coming out of Charlottesville. You understand? So this man knows his industry and knows what he's talking about. And so there is a deep concern. Oh, and there should be a deep concern, not only by the stakeholders, but by the persons who have ultimate responsibility for the destination.
I like the word you use. Ultimate
because they have the ultimate responsibility of what. Because the truth of the matter is, these ships that come, yes, there's a private arrangement between the agent and the transportation companies and so on, but the division of tourism has an overarching responsibility.
Yes. Ultimate responsibility.
Yeah, ultimate responsibility.
The buck stops with the
That's
secretary.
right, to make sure that the visitor's experience is top notch. Mm-hmm. Because it is through that same division that drivers get the training and tour guides get the training and so on. And so all of this is a all of industry response that is required to this problem.
To be coordinated.
Yeah, and it needs to be coordinated. Somebody has to
take the responsibility
to make sure that this is in place, so that when our visitors come to the island, that they have an experience that is beyond ordinary, and that they will want to return.
What was disappointing for me, and it was even brought out in the press conference, is that even with this, what I would say is a catastrophe. Mm-hmm. This is something like your tourism sector is an ICU. It's literally like the tourism sector is in the ICU.
Yeah.
And the secretary came back from the World Travel Market and then subsequently left again to, I think it was Jamaica, in the midst of this disarray. And, well, the question is being asked if the secretary has returned. I would not answer because I am not sure. But what I can say is that we have not heard anything from the secretary, and as a result of that, just as in the press conference last week, we want to call on the secretary to bring some clarity, to speak on the issue. A number of issues come up in the Tobago public domain, and what is, I think, disrespectful even to the population is the deafening silence that is present on critical issues. And tourism, which is something that has been an age-old conversation, something that Tobago has benefited significantly from in the past and has the opportunity to continue to do so. For us to have silence on an issue like this is cause for serious, serious concern. And so we're asking for the Secretary to break her silence and bring some clarity to this particular situation, and at least inform us as the public as to what is being done to mitigate what Mr. Dillon indicated is serious concerns with respect to cancellations and the damaging of the brand identity and brand reputation of what has been known to be an excellent product coming out of Tobago's tourism sector.
No, I know we're running out of time. I know we're out of time, but just quickly, to me, this requires leadership, because we may think that there's some people who may think that it's something small. But if we understand how, and the tourism experts could speak to that.
Yeah.
If we understand how these things take time to turn around, these industries are not
overnight.
Not speedboats where you could spin around. And I'll use the analogy of a massive cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
It will take time. It takes time to turn around these things. And when you lose reputation, you lose reputation very quickly.
Because it took time for them to come
and to
negotiate.
To rebuild it takes significant time, because you have to remember that there are other destinations competing for the same ships, the same passengers, and who are offering excellent service. And so whenever you slip, there's always somebody to take your spot. So this requires leadership. This requires more than just a letter of apology.
Yeah.
This
and
requires
some trinkets in our bag.
Yeah, this requires significant dialogue with the powers that be to turn this whole thing around. Because it's not to me, it's not something small. Yeah.
Words of wisdom. So the ball is in your court, Secretary of Tourism or Chief Secretary. The public awaits your discussion. Folks, you've been watching the Minority Report. I'm your host, Marlon David, and joining me this evening was Senator Lawrence Hislop. We want to thank you for staying with us, and we do look forward to our coming shows where we have some interesting guests, I think, lined up.
Yes.
Very, very interesting conversations to bring to you, the public. So stay locked on, and stay with us every single week. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.